Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is Carl's Roller Coaster Podcast. Hey, Kieran, my friend. Welcome to the roller coaster.
How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, man. I'm not too bad. How are you?
I'm good, man. I've missed you. I've not seen you in ages. Just back home in Glasgow, spending some time with family.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a real while. I mean, this year was a year that, we would probably, be crossing paths on the road, but then COVID kicks us all in the butt, and now it's a waiting game, I suppose, right, for next year, hopefully to, resume some sort of normalcy. You're supposed to be on tour at the moment, right?
Yeah, man. From January. I had a 6 month world tour coming up. We were in the middle of a tour in America, playing in Atlanta, and we get the phone call early on in the day that all our European dates have been cancelled, and we thought, oh well, we've still got the rest of this tour. And then later on in the day, we get the second phone call, like, actually, guys, pack your things. This is the last show, and we're not getting for a while. So hopefully this kicks off soon, man, because it's been a nightmare.
Yeah, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. I do relate to that because when I came back to London, I was in the middle of a tour as well, and all the European dates were, cancelled, not even postponed, because obviously back then nobody knew what was going to happen. And I was actually very hopeful that by the summer, well, this past July, that we would have, have returned to normal life. But no, we're entering September and we're still, dragging. It's crazy.
That's it, man. I thought because in March that's when our tour's cancelled. So I thought, okay, maybe March, April, June, but by July I'll be touring again. But you're right, man. It just went way longer than expected.
How has it been for you personally? The whole lockdown scenario. Were you back home in Glasgow? Were you staying with your family?
Yeah, I was staying at a place in Seattle out for a bit. And then I decided, because obviously my mum and dad were a bit older, my grandparents were a bit older, it started getting a bit scary in Scotland. So I thought, okay, I'll come back, spend some time with them, just in case the zombie apocalypse happens, Yeah. So I came back here for a couple of months, and it's been really nice because I've been on the road for like 3 years pretty much, only home for a couple of months at a time. So it's been really nice to see them, but I didn't know how much I actually needed to play a gig again. Like when we did that live stream concert the other night, I came off stage and I started crying, and I was like, it was just such a big release because I'd not played with a band on, people don't understand how much you actually need. I live for that connection and that music, so it's been tough, man, but it's been nice to see family. What about yourself? You still out running about?
Yeah, man, I definitely, I've been using, well, as best as possible, the extra time, and I did put a lot of time, and still am putting a lot of time into my running regime and training really hard. I was actually training for the London Marathon, which unfortunately is not going ahead anymore. Only the elite race is taking place this October. But I mean, for me, it's just lifestyle, really. I'm not the kind of person that follow a training program for a specific race and then stop altogether afterwards. I mean, I just carry on training. It's just something that gives me focus and discipline, and I kicked off as well because as you're aware of, I have a running club here in London, and now I am doing a cycling club as well. So I've been riding my bike as well during the week. So yeah, man, and taking the time, like you said, we do spend a lot of time on the road and away from family and friends. So
Totally.
Having some time to internalize and just analyze ourselves, maybe that, like trying to learn more about ourselves. And I've been meditating a lot and eating healthily, and obviously enjoying good nights of sleep without the alarm going off in the morning.
Dude, how's the meditating working out for you? Because I've been trying to get into that. I've been going, right, every time I go out for a cigarette, instead of being in my phone, I'm going to try and just sit there and clear my head. But I can't see all those thoughts that come in. It takes me, it's hard work, man.
Yeah, it honestly, I'm so glad that you actually mentioned that, because meditation, it's just like any other form of exercise. Imagine yourself as a guitarist. If you don't play your guitar for 5 days, you probably not only gonna miss it, but you will likely not be doing that particular
Totally.
live, a particular, fast solo that you were doing it so easily before. And it works in general in life. It's just like that. And meditation is something that people, we don't know much about it in general. And when people start creating some sort of understanding or curiosity towards it, people always, we normally as human beings, we tend to get into things expecting an outcome, expecting something. And
Right.
again, like when I mentioned playing the guitar, when you practice a lot of the guitar, you do see improvement. You see that you play better. When you practice a form of exercise, you do feel better after a while. But meditation is something that you don't particularly notice after a week, after a month, after several months, sometimes not even after several years. Anything uh, concrete, let's put it this way. So it's a matter of literally finding the time on the day and putting that time aside just to be with yourself. And it's a very easy practice. You can just literally, like you said, the cigarette break. Maybe you take a 5 minute break that you're only going to sit with your closed eyes, with no noise, no phone, nothing, just for 5 minutes. And you're simply going to breathe in through your nose and breathe out through your mouth and think about nothing. Just literally pay attention on your breathing. When you put your focus on the breathing, all of a sudden you're focused on the breathing. You're not thinking about what you're going to be doing next or what you did an hour
Sure.
before. So again, I can send you some links for some good apps that do help, guided meditation. And literally, like I said, it's a matter of starting with 5 minutes a day. You're going to be doing 10 minutes later on, and it's just like finding that very little space window of time on the day and putting on the work. And I've been practicing that for many, many years. Well, not that many years, but like for the last
And
3 years.
have you noticed now that after you've been doing it for so long, I presume, do you find it easier to then just go into that, okay, I'm meditating stage?
Absolutely. And not only that, but I can see now the the benefits on my life on daily basis,
Wow.
on attitudes, on my train of thought. When I'm, say, if I'm running and there's a bunch of people just uh, you know standing on the pavement, on the path of which I am about to pass by running, and these people don't move, I would sometimes feel a bit stressed out or annoyed with it. But then with meditation, what meditation do, for example, it helps me realize that, wait, Carl, why are you getting annoyed with this lot? If they don't know you,
Sure.
you don't know them. They're not standing there to block you, mate. So it's just a matter of, like, you start to pay more attention to your brain, which is wired in a way of which you did not choose to think on the specific way that you do. You did not choose all the thoughts and all your attitudes. It's a lot of stuff that you carry from the very moment that you were on your mom's womb. And all of the energy, all of your experiences, basically, they build up throughout the course of life, and they make who we think we are. Because is that who we really are? Do you know what I mean?
Totally. No, yeah, I've been trying to get into that a lot more and trying to, because our lifestyle, it's crazy when you're just suddenly, especially this downtime, I'm starting to go, well, what's really my normality? Because my normality on tour is waking up, you're drinking every night, you're then playing thousands of people, there's the crazy madness, it's constant fight or flight. So being back in normality for this long, I was sort of, who am I, and where's, what I mean, where's, so it's been actually nice trying to understand myself a bit better, and like I said, trying to meditate and all that sort of stuff.
That's great, man. I'm so glad to hear it. And do you have any sort of exercise practice that you do or you try to do regularly these days?
Not too much, man. I'm still pretty bad for that. I still smoke a pack a day, so I'm still not great for that. But I do. I like to go out. I like to go out and walk every day. Just go to a bit of a local park here, so I like to go out for a walk to the park. And I've got my pull-up bar, so 3 days a week I do some pull-ups and some sit-ups, but nothing vigorous. But I do notice it now. If I've not exercised the day, I go. I feel like I feel weaker than I did the day before. But yeah, I feel like I need to do more exercise, but it's just so easy during quarantine as well to, I'll start that later. because you don't have a regimented thing.
Absolutely, you said it really well. You did put really well. I know a lot of people that completely fell off the wagon during lockdown. Like drinking every day, even at home, just like drinking, eating crap, going to bed super
Totally.
late. And that's very easy. If we're all very it's something that, I mean, you can go through a period of that if that's something that you, because again, we've never had so much time in our lives as we are having it
Sure.
right now, and we are likely never going to have this time again, which is something that a lot of people do not realize, that obviously there's a lot of suffering and a lot of bad things happening in so many different fronts, in the health of family members or friends. Financially, a lot of people are going through a very rough patch. But if you're not if you're not into those categories of being in a bad position at the moment, there's a lot that you can take out of this moment. It's a lot you can, I'm sure, like,
Totally,
you have you been playing a lot of guitar? Have you been, like, I don't know, creating music? Have you been creative during the period, or did it affect you in a way?
Man. It's been really good for that, because I had like an album that I was meant to work on with Geoff, and I have all these other projects. I had an album I was doing with Till Death Do Us Part. I had a solo album, so I've just spent the whole time. What I've been trying to do is look at it like a job. So I have a home studio with everything set up to write full songs. So I've just been getting up every day when I'm here, having my coffee, and then starting to write songs and looking at that. So that's what I've been. Same thing, man. I'm never going to have this time off again to just sit here and write as many songs as possible. So I've worked for some other people for some movie stuff, for songs from movies, a song for a guy called Adam Pascal, who was in Rent on Broadway. He's in School of Rock as well. So I've just been trying to really push my songwriting in this time, my music production. But I totally get you, man, because it's so easy to just go, I'll start that tomorrow. But me trying to look at it as I'll set my alarm, I'll actually get up early, I'll have a walk, and then I'll start songwriting. That's just been keeping me sane.
Have you managed? Are you going to bed late or early these days? What time are you hitting the sack these days?
It's weird, man. My sleeping pattern's kind of all over the place, but it just sort of always has been. I tried to get to sleep around 2. I tried to wake up at 10. But when I get in one of those sort of productive, like if I start writing a song and it's going really well, I can stay up for 2 days and just write that song. So I've been doing that sometimes where I'll hit like maybe there's a bit too much to smoke, a bit too much to drink, and I hit that inspiration coming in, and I go, all right, okay, and then I'll stay up for 2 days and write songs, which again, that messes up my sleeping schedule. But when am I ever going to have the time to just devote 48 hours to one song, one project,
Absolutely. Well, that's amazing that you managed to keep going for that long. I bet you drink coffee yourself.
I do drink, I drink a lot of coffee, man. And
coffee coffee, alcohol, and cigarettes, that keeps you going. And
coffee, alcohol, and cigarettes.
How is your diet these days, brother? Because I remember on tour you just like living on a diet of like milk, dairy milk, and Nutella or something like that.
Carl, man, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's still pretty bad, man. I live off pizza and chicken nuggets. It's not great, but that's the only thing I'm going. I know my diet's bad. I can deal with that. It's just the taste, man. I'm really picky with taste and stuff. What about you? I see you eat all this healthy stuff, man. Like all your Instagram posts, it looks incredible.
Yeah. This is another important thing that I do. I bring. You know what happens on tour. I always I'm doing like shakes and stuff in the bus for for the guys, and it's just like when you start to basically make adjustments, it's very difficult for you to change completely your life, your diet habits, your exercise regime if you don't have one, and things like that. But it's all about understanding that what's really good for me. How can I be more proactive? How can I be the best version of myself? And
sure.
By doing that, we can probably write down a list of things that we believe it would be great for us to change in ourselves, and it can be quite overwhelming, you know. But instead, it's just so much easier to tackle things bit by bit and making small changes here and there. So instead of, I don't know, eating pizza 5 times a week, maybe one of these days, you know, instead of eating the pizza, you do, and this is a compromise that you make with yourself. Instead of doing that, you're gonna start making a smoothie, you know, and you can make that smoothie as simple as possible. But and at first, because what happens to our taste buds as well is that we get so used and accustomed to certain tastes, and obviously those fatty foods full of fat, full of sugar, full of salt, we get that stuff get really in our system, in our
Sure.
brain, you know. So it's crazy because you look so, like, you're so slim, and like, you know, from an outsider, from an outside point of view, you look, people look at you and they're like, wow, look at this dude, he's you know, he's fit, you know, and you don't look after
Yeah,
your
no,
figure
man.
at all.
I've had that so many times on tour. Like guys have come up to me like, "Hey man, like I'm trying to lose some weight, and I'm trying to what do you eat?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Maybe once I reach 30, it's all going to go downhill, and I'm going to be like, 20 stone or something." But it is what it is.
How, where do you think that emerged? Do your parents like have a um unregular diet at home, you would say?
I mean, I think that just cause both my mum and dad still worked when I was growing up, so I was at my grand's a lot, and then they both worked full-time jobs, so they'd come in and it would be very much like my mum didn't have time to cook, so it would be they'd have a couple of hours, so it'd be easy to throw on a pizza or stick in some chicken nuggets, or if I was we were driving somewhere. For my mum or dad's work, or for me to play shows when I was younger. I think it's just the way it's always been, and because again their diet's probably the same. It's not great, but then I go to my grand's and her diet's the same. She's a bit better. She eats steak and stuff, but yeah, I think it's just convenience. And yeah, we're not big cookers in the family.
So how was your upbringing? Where did you grow up? And you said that your mom and dad were mostly at work, so I presume you did spend a lot of time with your grandparents.
Yeah, I was. I mean, my childhood was good, man. I was. My grandparents lived right across the road, so I went there most days during the day after school or before, before I started school. My mum would come home from work, and I still lived at my mum and dad's house, but I would just spend most of the days at my grand's, and it was good until I reached school, and then I got a really hard time at school. Get suspended for fighting, and just didn't really like people, get sort of bullied, so ended up just walking out, switched school, and then I left the other school when I was 16, so everything was good in my childhood apart from school. School wasn't for me.
That was all in Glasgow, yeah.
All in Glasgow, man, yeah, all brought up in Glasgow.
What time? What period? How old were you when you picked up the guitar? And did your family have any influence in that?
Yeah, I mean, I picked up the guitar probably when I was maybe 6 or 7, and I started playing in bands around about 9, 9, 10. But when I first started, I mean, my dad had a guitar in the house, and he played a bit as a kid, and he was the type of guy who'd bring out the acoustic guitar at parties, so he was just dead excited that I could, play a couple of chords. And then obviously getting to see like Iron Maiden, and when I was dead young and seeing bands like Kiss and all that, I knew that's what I wanted to do. But yeah, they're both into music. They have big record collections, and it's cool. My dad was like a Queensryche fan before, now I've joined the band, so it's great, man. It's nice to full circle it.
That must be like such a kick for your dad, like having his son playing in a band of which he was a big fan, right?
Yeah, it was
Well,
sick. I
not in the
remember.
band itself, but like with the band, well, the lead singer of that lineup back then that recorded so many legendary records.
Totally, man. I remember phoning him when I get the phone call asking if I would be interested in joining, and
How
I
did
phoned
that
my
happen
dad.
anyway, if you don't mind me
I
asking? How did that
Yeah,
work?
so my dad he's a concert promoter, Shock City Productions, and it was his biggest act at the
Sorry,
time.
Kieran. Let me just say something before you tell us the story. It's just for the people that doesn't know, but
Sure.
Kieran is the guitarist for Geoff Tate's Operation Mindcrime, which is Geoff Tate is was the singer of the legendary band Queensryche. So, and Kieran has been with Geoff for many years now. So yeah, Kieran. Sorry, if you could just resume telling us how did it all begin?
Totally, man. Well, yeah, my dad had booked a Geoff Tate show in Glasgow, and I was like, oh my god, it's Geoff, because I'm a big Queensryche fan, so I went along to the show, just looking to load in the gear and hopefully get a photo with Geoff, you know. And it's that sliding doors moment, man, because they were late showing up, and my dad goes, it's okay, they're late, you can just go home. And I thought about it and went, no, I'll stay just in case I get to meet them. So I stayed and got to the show and ended up talking to Emily, who was selling merchandise for Geoff's daughter. Emily was selling merchandise at the time, and she was saying she writes lyrics but doesn't write, music, and she'd love somebody to write her a song. So I was like, I was a bartender at the Hard Rock, but I had a home studio, and I was like, I'll write you a song, just thinking it'd be cool to work for like Geoff's daughter, So I wrote her a song, and she really liked it, and she said Geoff had liked it. So she said, is there anything I can do to repay you? Do you want paid? And I just said, no, not at all. But if your dad ever needs another guitarist, with like a total winky face and like complete joke. And like 2 weeks later, man, their band had visa issues and they couldn't get into the country. And they had a whole USA tour booked for 3 months. So they phoned up all the proper session musicians and they were all, busy because it was a week away. And apparently Emily then said, what about that guy from Glasgow? And I get the phone call and quit my job a week after, and that's been about 3.5 years ago, man. So it's been a crazy ride.
Wow, that is crazy. That is the stuff of dreams, isn't it?
It's mental, man. And it's just that whole, like, I believe in right place, right time, but I also believe you have to create your own opportunities. Because if I had went, my dad had went, okay, they're running late, you can go. If I'd went, yeah, no problem. If I just walked away from that one moment, none of this would have happened. But the fact I'm like, no, I'm going to stick it out. We'll need people to handle the gear. It's just sliding doors, man. So from that, I try and take every opportunity I can.
Absolutely. You said it so right. I agree with that 1000%. And not only that, but the fact that you were capable of delivering it as well, right? That you were ready to take on the job.
Totally, man. I mean, I had 17 songs to learn in a week, but I was like, I'm never going to get this opportunity again. I just walked into my job the first day, quit my job. I might have called in sick to get a couple of extra paydays, but we won't talk about that. But I quit the job and then just sat in my house for like that whole week, just learning the material. And I showed up, and Geoff, I think that was the thing that sort of made me and Geoff click straight from the start. Is I actually showed up, learned the material, and I didn't show up without knowing.
That's incredible, man. That's incredible, and I feel like, wow, that's I mean, it's such an amazing story, but rare as well. It's not the stuff. It doesn't happen
totally
all the time. It's just like
have you ever seen that movie Rockstar with Mark Wahlberg and Jennifer Aniston? It's like that, man.
Exactly. Yeah, you said it all. It's just like that. It's an incredible movie, but you leave that. You're leaving that, which is so amazing. What when you got the call and when you spoke to Emily at first, what were you doing and what was going on in your mind? And what, I mean, you just mentioned that you had the job, but what was going on in your head in terms of a professional career in the music? I mean, you said that your dad worked in the music business, right? So was it something that was already within the family and you had support from your dad to persuade this career?
Sure. Well, I mean, my dad actually got into the music business after me. When I was sick, I mean, I was playing in local bands since we were 9 and 10, which did sort of well because we were kids, but we played really well. So we'd get like the hotels and the functions and those sort of professional gigs. But when I turned 16, there was a management agency in Berlin, and they spotted me and they took me to Berlin. So I worked in Berlin for 3 years, just trying to make a name for myself as a solo artist. And that went well, but obviously it's very hard to make any sort of income for that. So my family were dead supportive as well. But I'd sort of given up on it a bit. I hadn't given up on the dream, but I'd just sort of given up in a bit of I'd recorded an album. My manager at the time put tons of money into me, and I just didn't have I didn't get quite out of it what I wanted to get out of it. So I went, okay, I'm 18, I want to make a bit of money. So I came back and started working as a bartender, but had this thing on the side. If I write songs, I'm going to keep doing it. And I honestly had a party the night I get the phone call beforehand, and I woke up, and I was waking up on my couch, hungover, and Emily was phoning me, and I was like, I can't miss that call. and she told me, I celebrated and then went and threw up because I was hungover. But yeah, I was so excited when I get the call. It was like because I hated the job. I really didn't like working where I was working, so it was perfect timing for me.
Amazing. And did you? I mean, when it comes to like songwriting and recording stuff, you obviously had a ton of material to learn and go through in order to go and play with Geoff. But then you had an album. Correct me if I'm wrong, but In the Name of Vanity, was that the album
Yeah,
that you
man,
already had out
that's correct.
before you joined Geoff, right?
That's correct. Yeah, we did that album. That was the album we recorded in Berlin, and it was good as well because it means that before Geoff hired me, he could look me up and see, okay, I actually have stuff out. I've actually recorded an album.
Very good.
But yeah, I don't really do anything with any sort of that stuff anymore. But people keep asking for a new solo album, so we'll see. I might put one out eventually.
Yeah. So at this time, are you recording? Are you writing material mainly for Geoff, for the Geoff Tate band, or are you doing any sort of writing for something like you just mentioned, perhaps a solo album or any other projects that you have?
Yeah, I'm writing for lots of things. We just finished tracking the Till Death. Just finished the Till Death Do Us Part album, which is Jeff's daughter Emily's new band. So that'll be coming out soon. And we've also got been doing lots of tracking, lots of work for a new Geoff Tate album that I can't really talk about yet, but it's going to be incredible. Really cool concept. It's insane. And I've also been just recording songs for my own benefit, songs that I don't know whether I'll release or not, but just songs that I want to get out that maybe don't quite fit Geoff, don't quite fit Emily. And did a song for a guy called Adam Pascal, who did a cover of a song called Jesus Christ Superstar, which was great working with him. And I've just been trying to do little bits and bobs to keep myself occupied, but just constant writing for Geoff, man. He loves, like, I'll send Geoff 10 songs and he'll use 5 of them, so he likes as many songs as possible.
That's really cool. That's really cool. I mean, I feel so happy for you because sometimes it's quite difficult, especially when it comes to such an accomplished artist like Geoff to please, right, with music.
Totally,
and to obviously write material where, because especially when you're writing for a singer, right? He's a singer and a performer, and it's so complicated for for the guitar, for the songwriter in the band, on this particular case yourself, to fit in and to
Totally.
do the team, like Richard Jaeger, like kind of thing. So it's amazing. It's really good. I'm very happy to hear that. And when it comes to all the touring and all the plans that you guys had for this year, how did you see it working for next year? Are you guys already like kind of planning on rescheduling tour? And did you like how are you seeing that? Because I am particularly involved on a few things, including one of the tours that have we just announced a few weeks ago, another Fuel X UK tour for April next year. But then again, nobody has any, and I've seen it actually, bands like Primal Fear, which is a metal band from Germany, and Matt Sinner is a friend of mine, and they rescheduled a 2020 European tour for 2021, obviously, but the kickoff is in February. I think it's a little bit too early for that, isn't it? It's quite hard to predict.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know. We still have a USA tour going ahead, as of just now, still going ahead in November. And I actually wasn't confident about that until today. I saw actually John Karabi and stuff, they have shows in America booked in August. So I'm going, okay, that might. So hopefully we'll get to America in November.
Wow, that would be incredible. That would be incredible.
It'd be great, man. But I think as far as Europe and as far as the UK is concerned, we've rescheduled our shows to 2021 as well. I think our European shows are April as well. It's just been pushed back, man. But that's it. How do you know? There's no way to know until it happens. So I think it's just fingers crossed. What's happening with like EO Kill Talent and stuff? Is all the touring being pushed back as well?
Yeah, everything has been postponed or cancelled, right? So like the tour with Metallica that was scheduled for April, this past April, it's been rescheduled for December this year, and that is confirmed as of now. But again, I mean, I'm not entirely sure. I can't really imagine a world where 70,000 people are going into a stadium and watching a concert, in like 4 months from
Sure.
today, less than that, 3 months from today. Unless if, there is a vaccine that comes out, very, very soon, which is unlikely, as we are all aware of. It's very unlikely for anything to be, rolling within the medical circuit before January. So it's all up in the air, really. It's really hard to predict. I don't believe. Have you seen all of those? People doing like a drive-through concerts and social distancing
Yeah,
concerts.
man.
It's just something temporarily, I think, isn't it? I mean, that's not something that will catch on the trend.
I hope so, man. Because I mean, the way somebody put it to me good the other day, they said that a musician friend of mine said that our industry is going to be the last to come back because our industry relies on travelling and large groups of people, which is the two things that you're not allowed to do. I mean, I would hate to go to a concert to be or playing on stage in a 1,000-seater room and there's 90 people there. You got to have that pushed close together, and I don't know, man. I feel like it's going to be a whole different vibe. And I was sad because I saw it was 2 years ago today. I was playing the Whiskey A Go Go in LA, and I was watching the videos back of that, and all the people crammed, and they're all mosh pitting, and that's what it's about, man. So I don't know when that's gonna come back.
Yeah, no, I do feel you. I do feel you, and I am really very hopeful that from January 2021 we will have some reassurance from governments to resume somehow playing concerts. I can't really imagine anything before we have a vaccine, but then
And
again,
what's it like in Brazil as well over there? It's the
yeah,
guys.
yeah. Well, in Brazil, I mean, they're all good and in great health, and they did a live, which is, lots of artists been doing it, and you yourself did one this past weekend as well, right? Uh,
Yeah,
those, live concerts online, with no audience, and it's just, it's very frustrating when you and I don't mean to sound selfish in any way, but like it's very frustrating when you work your entire life and then you had in front of you very likely
100%.
the most amazing year of your life so far, and then all of a sudden the everything falls apart, and there's absolutely nothing that you can do. But luckily enough, working with several high well high ranked companies in the world, we all know that those things, they will come back. It's not that we missed on an opportunity of which, there's no second time around, like the festivals, for example. Everything is just going to be an X-ray next year from what 2020 was supposed to be. So it's just given the time to, and again, like trying to make the most out of the spare time. I know a lot of people like you yourself. You mentioned that you've been writing a lot, and you've been productive, and I know a lot of people have been recording music and creating stuff and thinking about ideas and concepts and working again on their minds, on within their families, on their relationships. There's a lot that can be achieved during this period, because again, we're not gonna have this time ever again. It's gonna, as soon as, because the world, this is how I see it. I don't believe that we will not shake hands anymore. I don't believe that.
No, I don't believe that either.
We are human beings. We are, and we will go back to old habits per se. And
Totally.
which is definitely a good thing. I do want to go back to going out, hugging people, shaking hands, having a drink in a pub, and not worry about catching a virus.
Yeah, and it's that whole thing of like when I'm in the meet and greet and stuff, and people come up, I hate it when I can't shake their hand, I can't say hello. It's been really strange, and I totally get what you're saying as well about working so hard and it's all gone. I was thinking that the other day. I was going to bust my ass for 3 years, and then you get to this. This was my perfect year, and then obviously it's moved to the next year. But some people that maybe didn't do my job and just worked other jobs, they're still okay because they're still going through it. And but I guess that again, you're right. It has just been moved back a year, and it's just a case of accepting the downtime, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Kieran, you said that, these days you've been like writing a lot, and do you have some sort of routine that you follow on these days, or is it something that you just get up in the morning and carry on with your day, and all of a sudden you pick up the guitar and then you crack on, and if it lasts for 48 hours, like you mentioned, so be it? Or do you actually have a routine of which, okay, around this time of the day, I'll pick up the guitar and then what do you do? Do you do a bit of warm up? Do you study some techniques, or do you just play songs? What's your routine with the instrument?
Sure. Well, it's been great. What my daily routine is I'll normally wake up, and my honest daily routine is I'll have a cup of coffee and I'll have a joint, and I'll go upstairs and I'll get in my home studio. And the guitar's actually been the last thing I've went to. I've got a whole keyboard set up and all in Logic, so I normally start with drums and trying to feel getting a good beat out. And I'm normally doing that by about 11. And normally, within a good couple hours, I've got a beat down. I've got some maybe synthesizer parts, and then once I've got that, I'll then sit with my guitar and try and play over it. But when I play guitar, that's more just at night. If I'm sitting watching the TV, I'll sit there running over solos or trying to write songs. But I've been trying to get away from guitar writing, if that makes sense, because I feel that there's lots more interesting things now as well to do. And it's not that I don't love the guitar writing. It's just I feel like I need to get better at other things to make it more mainstream and maybe able to work for other artists,
I see. As a producer, you mean?
Exactly, yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. That's very interesting. That's amazing that you do put the time on sitting for a couple of hours and, like you just said, and work on a drum beat and then eventually synthesizers and get basically well, the basis of a song laid down, so you can actually you know fool around on top of it and eventually come up with ideas. That's really cool.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's been fun and it's been cool. I bought like a pretty good MIDI keyboard, and I've been trying to play along to that. I'm
How
just trying
does
to
it
grab a glass of water.
how does it work in relation to Geoff's vocals? Do you come up with ideas and suggestions, or do you leave that entirely to him?
Well, what I normally do is if I'm writing a song, I'll write a whole song. So I'll sing over it, my lyrics, my drums, my bass, my guitar, my synths, just give him a song. And he'll either go, okay, I like it, or no, I don't like it. But if he likes it, what he normally does is he'll strip down all the lyrics. I'll send him it as in, all in files. He'll strip down all the lyrics, change all the lyrics normally. He might keep some of my vocal melodies, but he always changes it himself. Or he might go, well, I've got this bridge section that's going to work here, and then we'll do that. But it's really cool because he's super, open for ideas, and I'm not fresh with songs either, so it's nice to have like a good writing partner.
Yeah, absolutely. What were your musical influences, Kieran?
Growing up, I think it was sort of like Iron Maiden and Kiss and Motley Crue, and just when I saw Kiss, like seeing the whole imagery of Kiss and everything the first time, that got me just hooked straight away. But I think sort of now I try and like listen to sort of more weirder stuff. I like Jeff Buckley, like Leonard Cohen, and like I like all the sort of trap stuff like Lil Peep and Post Malone. And I think because I play metal like full time now, it's sort of nice to give my ears a little bit of a break from metal. But I mean, I still love like Slayer, Metallica, and it's just depends what you're in the mood for, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And do you listen to a lot of music? And where do you listen the music from? Do you listen to Spotify and digital platforms like that?
Yeah, man, I always feel bad for doing it because I know that they're totally ripping me off. But I love Spotify. It's great just for even the daily mixes. So I'm going. Like I said, every day I get up and go for my walk to get cigarettes, and I can just have my daily mix on, and it shows me new music and old music, and that's every day I'm listening to music, especially when I'm having like a bath or a shower. But yeah, no, I listen to music every day, man.
You probably never put any money, or probably never got into like buying records yourself, I presume.
I remember as a kid, I mean, the only record I remember I bought Slipknot's Antennas from Hell, which was a compilation album. But my dad has like a big crate of CDs, and I do still remember CDs and all that stuff. He actually found his Operation Mindcrime CD
Oh
the other day,
wow.
which was cool.
Does he have a vinyl collection as well?
He does, yeah. He's got the old record player and all his old vinyls up there and stuff as well, which is cool. Some Queensryche ones and some actual old ones from the 80s as well. So that's been cool to listen to with a Bluetooth speaker. And it was funny, I realised actually I never actually knew how to put a record on. So, the first time I did it, it's like that. So, but yeah, I think I got it worked out now.
Dude, it's incredible. I mean, growing up, I only had cassettes and CD
And
players
the
at home.
Walkman and stuff.
Exactly. I did have a Walkman, and afterwards I had the Discman. But I've never had a turntable back home at my parents. So growing up, I used to buy vinyls, but I couldn't listen to them.
Uh,
And then nowadays, I do have a really cool turntable and a pretty good sound system. And I've been revisiting lots and lots of records and getting like first press records from the 60s, from the 70s, from the 80s. And man, it's just like it's different, you know.
it's a different vibe, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a different vibe, and it's warmer, the sound, and it's I don't know, it's crazy to just have the experience. I've been listening to CDs as well these days, you know, listening to entire albums. I think it's really like really cool that you can actually put on an album, put an album on, and just go with the flow, with the artist's vision of putting this song after the other. And
Totally.
I really enjoy the experience. And the vinyls are just like something really incredible. It's just the convenience as well, right? When you have like Spotify and all of those digital platforms, it's just so much easier to just pick on.
Skip song.
Exactly. And not
Exactly, man.
but not only that, it's just exactly, you end up skipping songs more often. But it's incredible to just be able to say discover artists, or perhaps go back and listen to discographies of which you would never I mean, I wouldn't have listened to Tina Turner's discography when I was a teenager, because I would never
Sure.
go in the shop and buy her records. Whereas nowadays I did listen, and I do listen to her discography because it's just that, you know. So the convenience is incredible, and I love the fact that the music business as well is changing drastically, and the streaming industry, the streaming part of the business, I should say, is actually providing now what the physical format provided years ago. We're obviously still not as
Sure.
close to what it well we're not actually, we're making more money nowadays. The industry is making more money than it used to be, but there's still a lot of adapting and changing and getting on with the fact that artists can't really rely on a company, and by company I mean like a record label, to come and advance you
Totally.
this load of money, because they know, I 100% guarantee, they will shift a certain number of copies and make their money back. So the business is changing, but I think it's very promising, for artists in general, that for songwriters like yourself, it's incredible. The copywriting and the publishing world is just something that's where the money is at, and obviously alongside with live performances.
Totally, dude. I mean, it must have been mental for like Queensryche and guys like Geoff in the 80s, when just suddenly one day Napster comes out and 80% of your income is just gone. I mean, it's been depressed. I used to not understand it, because you'd look at documentaries from the 80s and Motley Crue are going, yeah, then they gave us $100,000 advance and all this stuff, and I'm talking to record companies and stuff, and they're not offering any advance, or if that, it's completely nothing. But I think you're totally right, and I'm glad the streaming is getting slightly better. But I feel like now it's going to be more moved to like things like Patreon and things like purchasing like exclusive access, whether that's online or actually at the shows. Because I feel like now, it used to be like you'd see, maybe you'd see Metallica on the front of a magazine, or like Kiss, but you never knew what you really looked like. You didn't know anything about them. But now you're sort of under this pressure to, you have to engage with the fans, you have to meet everybody has to know everything about you. There's the whole Kardashian era of being a rock star. So I think it's going to go more to that. The more people get more access, or because I only see the streaming thing getting worse. I just see a downward spiral in that.
Definitely, absolutely. Do you yourself have any particular views, political views? Do you have anything like what are your views in regards of? Do you have any views in regards or opinions in regards of Brexit, for example?
I do, yeah. I got in trouble for this the other day because I posted Donald Trump said something about we should maybe all inject bleach, to something about COVID. So I posted a meme on Facebook, and it was like a video, a photo of somebody with a bleach bottle up their bum, and it was so one of the fans messaged me like all mad saying, "Oh, you've lost a fan and you're disrespecting our president." So, but I mean, I honestly, I think I'm very much for Scottish independence, and I go on with that for hours. But everybody's got the right to believe what they want to believe. I'm very much about peace and love, and that as long as they're not hurting anybody, you can do what you want. I just feel like when at any side anybody tries to talk about anything, the other person shouts over them. You know what I mean? Whether it's right or wrong, but I'm not for hate, and I'm not for, I just think everybody should love everybody. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally, man. Totally. No, absolutely. I get what you're saying. Do you tend to be more on the, if you had to pick a side, do you tend to be more on the conservative or on the Labour side or
I think I'm definitely in Scotland. I'd definitely be SNP,
SNP? Right.
which is a Scottish Nationalist Party. I really agree with everything they stand for. I think Nicola Sturgeon's great as well. American and all that. I'm definitely more leaning towards the left.
Hmm.
But I mean, I actually like when my opinions get changed. I like hearing other people's views, and I think some people go, well, this is what I believe, so it has to be right. It's like, man, if I've said something that's wrong and somebody argues my point and they argue it correctly, and I can be going, okay, well, maybe you're right, or but yeah, I just don't want every. I think Scotland should become independent, because I do think England shafts us, but I think that will happen eventually.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I've heard about something that they will want to put another referendum in the near future, right? And yeah, it is something that could possibly happen. It's just crazy how the world we're living is so messed up when it comes to politics, and everyone is just trying to not people are not trying to work together, and you can really see it from this pandemic.
Exactly,
I
man. And
mean,
did Brexit, because we were in the UK, I was in the European Union, I could travel all around Europe. I could live anywhere in Europe I wanted to, which is great because sometimes we do like 5 months in Europe, but now I'm having to try and apply for my Irish passport because now I have to have a visa to tour Europe if I'm not. It's insane, man. Everything's got mental.
I know exactly what you're saying because I have a Italian passport and a British passport, so I'm good when it comes to
Yeah,
that,
you're sorted.
I'm sorted. But so do you have any who was Irish in your family?
We just found out a couple of days ago my granddad's dad was Irish, which is cool. Like came straight from Ireland. So I think when I looked into it, it's just as long as it's bloodline, like fifth or whatever generation removed. So that covers it. So hopefully, because I'm American and my Japanese visa that's obviously ran out when I was with you in Japan, on my UK passport. But if I get an Irish passport, it means I can tour Europe on my Irish passport, and hopefully that'll work out well. But I'm quite looking forward to having two passports, dude. I always thought it was cool when you'd pull out like your 5 passports.
It's definitely very, very helpful for us, touring the world and traveling everywhere. And if you do have the opportunity to file in and to try and get your Irish citizenship sorted, and therefore your passport, by all means, Kieran, go for it, man, and really do put some attention into that because it does make a lot of difference. It does, man. It does help you so much. I've known people that from Brazil that they've got opportunities outside of the country, musicians, and
Sure.
and when it comes to making a decision, am I going to go with A or am I going to go with B? Those well, not so small details,
Exactly.
they come into the equation, and then people are forced, obviously, business wise, it's so much better to hire someone that that can legally work without a visa, so
Well, dude, that was even working for you guys. When I worked for Anger, when I worked for you guys, it was like I already have an American work visa and I'm ready to go. So it's like if I
exactly.
didn't have my American work visa, if I didn't, it's just about always being prepared, I feel.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's a very, very good example. I mean, I remember being on tour in the US, and one member of the tour had an issue. He was American, but he basically had an issue in Canada years prior. He had
Oh,
an offense on his record for drink driving,
yeah.
and he couldn't get into Canada. And we had 4 shows in Canada, and then we had someone that could do the whole tour. And we really wanted this dude who couldn't get into Canada, but ultimately we kind of had to make a decision who's going to do it. And then he didn't get the job. He missed the job in the last minute, and that was very frustrating for him and for us as well, because you know how it works, right? When you have a crew of people
Totally.
that already understands you, not only technically, but just fits, within the group of people they're traveling. It's kind of like family, isn't it? You need to
Exactly.
not only be good at your job, but you kind of be some a likable character, right?
Well, dude, you're living. That's what I would say. You're living with these people. Like, it's like, are you gonna hire? Rob Zombie put it well when he said, like, if I'm gonna hire a musician, there's a massive list of people, and then I narrow it down from the incredible players, that narrows it down to 100 people. And then he goes, the people that look good on stage, that narrows it down to 50 people. And then he goes, the people that I can actually stand to live around 9 months out of a year. And he says, and that puts it down to 3 people. So, you know what I mean? It's the whole, when you're on tour, it's like, don't be smelly, take showers, be nice to everybody, actually be able to have the visas to get in the country. People don't understand that as well, the whole coming time. It's so many of my friends, when I was trying to get my American visa, even in bands, they're going, oh, we were just going to go over to America and play, and just like, they don't understand. It's a process. You have to get visas. You have to,
Yeah, yeah. It's really interesting how a lot of people. I mean, I think you've been very, very lucky with having all the opportunities. Not only lucky,
totally.
but like luck plays on the side of the people that are at the right time, the right place, just like you were. But I think that having all those opportunities and seeing the world, and just gives like us in general, like a very good understanding that there's so much more than just playing your instrument really well,
A
and
hundred
then and
percent.
having the looks, and having it's so much bigger than that. And a lot of people, I mean, I'm sure that nowadays, with technology and access to information, people are kind of like seeing the world in a different way. But I remember being on tour with you guys, and you were not only playing in the band with Geoff, but you were too managing the band as well. And it's just like, I mean, who does that? Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm the guitarist in the band, but I'm looking after my singer, the singer in the band as well. I'm the tour manager, and I'm liaising this and I'm doing that. Like, this gives you so much, because we never know tomorrow, as you were aware of.
Exactly.
I mean, I was a singer for many years. I recorded many albums, and it just got to a point one day that, for some reason, it was just not meant to carry on. And then I was like, holy shit, man. I mean, this is what I do. This is who I am. And eventually, I merged into do basically what I do nowadays, working as a tour manager. But that was only possible because of all my, efforts, and all my interest and curiosity. Aside from just being a singer and being able to write lyrics and then write songs and have long hair and dress cool and play and look good on stage, you know, so you never know tomorrow. All of those things, they only make you so much more capable, and with full of, basically, well, knowledge that will just complement, that will make you so like a very rounded professional.
Exactly, man. No, I appreciate that.
It's so cool. It's really cool. Um, Let me ask you something. What are the things that occupy your mind more than other people, you would say?
That's a good question, man. What things occupy my mind more than other people? I would say probably just the actual this what I do, my job, my state, like I'm always thinking about, if I'm lying in bed, I'm always thinking about, okay, I've got this song, I've got this email I have to do, this company's interested, I've got this guy's card, I have to record this, and I think my brain sort of never switches off from work, because again, to me, work is what I enjoy doing. I've had lots of people say to me, "Oh, you work too much and you're going to burn yourself out," and but I also still have a good time. I still party. But I feel like work for me is very on my mind. Also, aliens, man. There's got to be aliens.
Right. Yes. There's got to be aliens. Well, in America, NASA confirmed they actually spotted an unidentifiable object, saucer flying. Right? Did you see that?
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. NASA confirmed. They confirmed. If you Google it about it, they confirmed that that was that was a real ovni, and it's crazy, right? When you think about it, there must be something out there that we are not aware of.
There's got to be something, man, and I'm super into Elon Musk with that whole the Neuralink thing he's doing, where he's going to put the chip into us all, and we're going to be able to record memories and save the feelings you're feeling at this moment. It's insane, man. Yeah, I'm super up for all that when that all kicks off. Maybe that's what I'll do once Geoff retires.
That is actually very interesting that you mentioned Elon Musk. I listened to his podcast with Joe Rogan, the latest one that he did with Joe Rogan. I think he did a couple.
Wasn't it?
It was really good, and he was saying that in the maximum 5 years, likely 3 years,
right, yeah,
they will have a chip or something, or a robot brain that will understand every single human behavior, every single human feeling, every single human way of thinking. It's kind of like a god, that comprehends and understands every single thing about humans. How crazy is that?
It's a man-made god. How insane is that? A man-made
god, exactly. How insane is that? And it brings the question, because we are in constant evolution, I'm just literally reading a book called Homo Deus, and it's the sequence from Sapiens, which is Yuval Harari, which is incredible, Kieran. I highly recommend that, man. It's awesome. It's really, really, really good, and it tells you basically it's a brief history of humankind, and it's just incredible how we evolved, where did we come from, our system of beliefs, everything that all the stories that have been told, all of the books, all of the gods, all of the information, and to a certain extent the knowledge or comprehension and understanding of the world as we see it. Dude, it's obvious. Everything has been created. Everything has been created, and what is real and what's not real.
Totally, man.
Dude,
that's very a sort of shroomy thing to say, but it's everything's a construct. It's even, I was talking to somebody that the other day of if imagine it was switched the other way around and it was suddenly okay, from the dawn of time, men actually wore dresses, and women wore suits. It's just we've created all these things of that's a wardrobe, that's a trash can, but what that's actually real,
Absolutely, and our beliefs as well. Back like thousands of years ago, people would spend time writing and doing math and working. Peasants would be working on very hard work all day long and have all sorts of it was just, and then all of a sudden you get to believe in things, and then that message get passed on, and then all of a sudden thousands of years ago, we would believe in gods and angels and all of that, and that would be written down, and that was kind of a lot of it has been created by man, because when you have the authority back then was, okay, I'm a priest and I speak by
And you
my
listen.
my
Exactly.
words are coming from God. So that was a way of constraining and making people obey to a certain set of rules before we had actual rules, a law system, and all of the other things that were created afterwards as a consequence of several other uh, um, creations in order to maintain order, in order to, well, keep the pyramid of society working with, the top of it led and
Totally.
controlled by just very few, and the rest of us literally just working really hard, paying our bills. And I mean, it's just crazy. It's really crazy. I'm totally immersed on those two books, and it's like, and the books are quite lengthy. They are like 450 pages each, or 500 maybe, and it's really difficult to like really talk about it and put it into words, because there's so much information. It's the kind of book that we all should be given in school instead of learning
Exactly.
stupid mathematic fucking formulas that we will never use it in our lives.
Totally. And they say, like, I mean, in school, the big thing, I was really bad at maths. And the teacher kept trying to convince me to stay, going, "You're never going to have a calculator with you everywhere you go." And I'm like, I carry my phone, like, every day now we have a calculator. So I feel like everything's going to evolve, even from, like, the next generation on. Like, if they're born, like Elon Musk said, say 10, 15 years from now, a child is born, and just they put this chip into their brain that can give them, the biggest intelligence, know every fact in the world. Like, we're still evolving as well. Like, apparently in like 15 years' time as well, because right now our ears are tuned to like the sounds of like lions and a baby crying, and apparently in like 15 years, because what we're used to, our ears are going to actually be more attuned to like things like buses and car noises, and that's going to be amplified in our ears. So no, I love that. I'm so into like how people are going to evolve, and it's going to be great.
What do you think about that idea of, for example, we are constantly evolving, but like now with machines and computers and the possibility of having a robot, a machine that understands us so well and everything about ourselves more than one single human individual could possibly comprehend. And eventually, with time passing by, those robots creating their own sort of world, their own sort of consciousness per se,
Totally.
and eventually perhaps taking over humanity. And I'm not talking about like in the near future, but like we're talking about like in in a distant future, perhaps.
Sure.
But
I mean, it's compassion, isn't it? I guess that's all that separates us from machines. The problem is, if you made machines that only thought logically, they would kill us all, because they would go, "You guys are destroying the earth, and whatever, how many years' time, this is not going to be sustainable." But I guess it's, how do you build compassion into a machine? Because can you teach a machine that that's this person's mother and he loves that person and they have this bond? I think that's where the programmers or whoever does that need to be really careful to not get a Skynet.
That's a very good point you raised, because that's one of the things that they say, that how can a machine, because the machine will be very pragmatic and very precise, but how can a machine develop compassion? Because
Exactly.
compassion is something that we developed in and within our own minds, which is an abstract thing, which is something made of basically matter. A machine won't have that. A machine won't supposedly have a soul or a mind per se. It's going to be a machine. So how do you know what I mean?
Totally.
It's
And
very
also, like, how do you build into a machine that it has sexuality, or is it asexual, or how do you program in all that? Because if it's going to be humanized, it's got to have all that. And then are you going to program it again? If you program in compassion, you program in feelings, they're then not going to want to do the shitty jobs. They're going to be like, "No, I don't want to be a garbage truck. I want to be a rock star."
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's gonna be so interesting.
Yes, absolutely. I find it really fascinating, all of that. This is a time we live in. I mean, imagine like how fast the world is changing. Literally, just like a few decades ago there was no color television, there was no television. Like a few,
Totally.
like 100 years ago there was no uh electric. I mean, it was just a completely different world just yesterday, and we have been habitating this planet for like thousands and thousands of years, and it's just unbelievable how much everything is changing and so quickly right now. Even with like you said, you're trying to leave your phone a bit more on the side. Do you feel that how what's your relationship with your phone, for example? You're the kind of person that wakes up in the morning, grab your phone and scroll down for a while, and then how is that? Do you monitor it? Do you try to be conscious about how you're using it? What's your relation with that?
I feel like I'm 100% addicted to two things, and it's cigarettes and my phone. It's and I watch all the things, even like the Elon Musk and the Tony Robbins and all the people and all the how to you're not meant to be using your phone. But for me, I think it's now become sort of it's weird. It's like a safety blanket, and I know it's so bad we're reliant on that technology, but I feel like as well now, every time I leave my phone, I miss a work call or I miss an important email, or it's very strange how dependent I've become on it. And my phone actually smashed like a couple of weeks ago, and I had to get a new one shipped, and I had like a day or two without my phone, and it was weird. I kept that panic feeling of going, where's my phone, because it wasn't in my pocket, and then remembering it was. I think it's an addiction for people as well. Like I think it's intense.
Yeah, man, I totally understand. Absolutely. I've been really bad now during, the last few months with,
Totally.
being more at home, not having to be anywhere in particular, and you just it becomes really hard. I can totally see it sometimes. I sit down to read my book. After I read half a page, I'm already thinking about something that, oh, I should get my phone and check this out. And I'm like,
That's it, man.
what is going on? I barely read a page of the book and I'm thinking about putting the book down already to go back to my phone. But I think it's really good. For example, bringing back the meditation,
Sure.
meditation does help you be aware, because and you just the way that you just described it, you are aware of it. Just being aware already puts you in a privileged position of being able to somehow make choices, like the important phone call, the important message. Are you really expecting a call, within the
Sure.
next hour, that it's going to be life changing, or it's really really important? If that's the case, by all means, keep your phone close, keep the volume up, and perhaps do that. But other than that, I mean, the vast majority of the time, it's like, you think about it, that there's never like really really a real reason for you to
Yeah.
not be able to stay away from your phone for a while. If you receive an important email, if you reply to that email 2, 3, 4, as many hours later, however many hours later, I mean, do you know what I mean? Some people might be
Yeah.
expecting, when you're expecting something that is really important. That's a different scenario. But most of the time, we're not waiting for anything that couldn't wait a few hours for us to address it. So
Totally.
I think it's important to just have awareness of it. I've been totally like, I put my guard down when it comes to that, and I just um, I've just been like in the morning I get up. Now, normally I would get up and crack on in the day. These days I wake up and then I scroll the news on my phone, and then I go check some social media. But I've been even during the period now, I would be spending like literally like 30, 40 minutes sometimes, just reading the news and checking stuff. And I'm being more mindful even during this period, that I don't particularly have to, because I mean, it doesn't change anything if I stay for half an hour on my phone, because I don't have to be anywhere
Sure.
as after I get up in the morning. But it all helps in order to um I mean, to be able to be more like, I think it brings a lot of, sometimes it can bring weird feelings towards, um, weird feelings for ourselves, like seeing, I don't know, people doing stuff, and that you perhaps would want to be doing it, and you're not doing it for whatever reason.
Totally.
And eventually those feelings, they come into you feel that, and by feeling that, we are creatures that we we're living beings, and we do have frequencies running through our system, and we are sharing frequencies out there. Every thought you have, I truly believe in that. Every thought that you have, everything that you do, you are throwing out there energy, and that energy
Exactly, man.
gets connected somewhere, somehow. Some of those become a very strong bond, and then things happen in your life. Others are just energy that is going out there, and eventually, the more you connect to that, maybe those things will come into your life, and you want to avoid as much as possible weird frequencies, weird vibes of jealousy that
It's
we
weird,
all,
man.
you know what I mean?
And you see people, that's the thing, you see people, complaining about, oh, this person on social media posting all this, their life must be so good. And it's like, man, you don't know what happens behind closed doors. You don't know that, because nobody posts like, oh, my girlfriend just beat me up, my son died. Nobody posts that on social media. It's all, here's me in a boat having a good time. Here's me, so I think I try and get past that by understanding that everybody's got skeletons in the closet, and they're not promoting that on Facebook.
Absolutely. You hit it, because nobody posts when they are sad or when they are having a shit day. It's all
Exactly.
smiles and great experiences. So it's very easy for people to look at it and think that that person's life is so perfect. But it could be the complete opposite. It could be just appearances. And the more we learn about it, how to deal with it, the more we learn about how to not relate ourselves so much with other people's lives, or other people's ways of self-promoting themselves, because it's a tool of
It's a
self-promotion as
tool
well.
of self-promotion.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. It's a
Exactly.
total tool of self-promotion. But also, my other pet hate is when I understand people go through a lot of stuff, and I catch myself doing it sometimes. But do you ever get those people when every time you meet them, you're like, hey, buddy, or hey, whatever, how you doing? And it's, oh, I'm not too good. And it's every single time. If people go through a period, I get that and when you help. But I also truly believe in the same thing you're saying with energy is, when you put out positive energy comes back from you. You can almost wish the badness upon yourself. If I'm feeling depressed or whatever, and I'm sitting there going, oh, this is miserable, this is all shit, I don't want to. But if I go, you know what, actually, I'll get up, I'll write a song, I'll do this, things always seem to come back. So I feel like you can actually wish yourself into a worse state than you are. And I'm not saying obviously if it gets worse, you need to go get help and all that, but I feel like people that complain a lot and sort of constantly talk about how shit their life is, your life's going to stay shit unless you do something about it.
Totally. Totally. Do you have any spiritual practice, Kieran? Do you have any sort of beliefs?
I don't, to be honest. I don't believe in God. I'm not I'm not saying I couldn't be anything out there. So to be honest, no, I very much believe in sort of the earth, and that everything that comes from the earth's good for us, and we just need to stop all the chemicals and all that stuff. I'm a hippie, man. I just believe that everything that's created from the earth is good. But as far as a god or whatever, no, I don't have anyone I pray to. I'm very much it's weird because I look up, like, I was born, I was raised Catholic, so I did my confession, my communion, and all that stuff. Went to see the Pope and everything, and then obviously as an adult, you look more into it, and you're going, oh, that doesn't quite add up. So, but then I've read up on Satanism and stuff, and although I'm not a Satanist, I quite like the Satanist the mantra, which is like no gods, no masters, and it's about you are actually. You don't need to submit to anyone. It's the same, all the bow for the royal family. It's like I'm not fucking bowing for anybody,
Mm-hmm.
But it's about you need to look after yourself and treat others the way. So again, I'm just very much about love and peace. What about yourself, man? I've never asked you this.
Yeah, I grew up in a Catholic family, and again, like most things in life, uh, I've been imputed with a lot of information, and all of a sudden you believe and you live your life um, based on others people's opinions and others people's inputs.
Exactly.
And so I am I'm more of a spiritual kind of person. I do believe that there is a higher energy, and that higher energy is the source of everything. But by that, I don't mean a God as a person sitting up there
Totally.
and making judgments. I mean by, like you said, if I think positive, that goes and connects and resonates and vibrates in the field of which we can't see, we can't touch, we can't, really comprehend fully, even. But
Totally.
but there is something else. There's very likely a lot of stuff and a lot of fields of energy that we do not see and we do not comprehend. Like when people talk about soul, or when you die, there's this light that comes out of your body and goes. Yeah, I believe that that could be very possible, and but I don't see it as a soul as in the format of a human being leaving my body and then being transported to the heavens and then getting to this paradise and sitting next to a nice tree and drinking water, fresh water from a lake. I think it's
Totally.
more of, there is an energy within every living being. Every creature in this planet is made of matter, and there is a soul, there is something inside of us all that makes us different than the machines, for instance, that we were just talking. Gives us, makes you have compassion, makes you observe and have feelings and be a human being and not a machine. And animals, I mean, it's proven that animals, they have the same, they do have the same, they do have the same sort of aura that we, the kings of the animal kingdom,
Totally.
have. So I think I see it as like, when we pass away, our energy fluctuates somewhere, goes
Totally.
to somewhere, and it's just out there. And when a woman gets pregnant, that whatever the energy, something that is extremely complex, whatever the energy, the path of life that that person led, and the partner and everything that surrounds them and the families, all of those crazy possible calculations or levels of frequency, if you will, however that works, that energy will boom, will get there, and then a human being will, well, that energy will be inside of that human being, inside of that creature, and will evolve, and it will become an adult and will become something, and then we'll have the same sort of, that's the
Totally.
that's the kind of belief that I have. I'm not particularly it's very hard to talk about something that, my parents, they firmly believe in Jesus Christ and the Bible and all of that.
Yeah.
But the more I study, the more I read about how did it all started, how and why all of those entities and the churches, and because the church used to be the one ruling the world, and you had the pharaohs, you had like so many different systems for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, that there's a very good explanation on why we kind of like follow what entities basically tell us that this is the right thing to do, and if you don't do that, you're gonna go to hell. So
Exactly.
that kind of thing, so it's like I don't particularly I have a very I firmly believe, and I respect a lot by that. I mean, I do respect Catholics, and I am Catholic, and I
Sure.
respect the Jesus Christ story, especially because it's something that it's very difficult to explain. Is like, I mean, if you go, this is 2020 that we're here. If you go anywhere on the planet, anywhere, in any country, poor, rich, remote, wherever you go, if you say the word Jesus Christ, people know who this guy was.
Exactly.
People heard about him. So I mean, that must have had. I mean, he must have been a hell of a guy. Do you know what I mean? Something might have.
It must have been good to go out for a pint with.
Exactly, because I mean, you can have as many gods that you want. Greek mythology, the Roman Catholics, there's so many different gods and goddesses out there that we don't know all of those names. But if you mention Jesus Christ, the likelihood is that 99.999999999% of all of the 7 billion people inhabiting planet Earth will have heard of this guy. So it's a complex one, but
I mean, I think there was. I think there probably was a guy called Jesus Christ, and I think because I definitely think that's very possible. There's a guy called Jesus Christ, but obviously whether he was the son of God and all that stuff. But I also believe a lot of it is just good advice. It's like if you read the Bible and if you actually look at the story, a lot of it is just don't shoot people, don't rape people, be nice to people. There's obviously the other bad stuff in it, but again, people like to argue that. But you also got to look at it as it was very much of its time. Like things now that obviously everything coming out now. Things that happened even so close as 20 years ago, you're going, oh, that's shocking. How did that happen? And nobody knows. And it was just, it's different times, and it's good that things are changing. But I think the baseline of the actual, the Catholic values are good. Don't hurt people, treat them with respect. But you're totally right about when I've travelled the world, and I think that opens you up more.
Dude, I agree with you fully, because obviously the good side of religion is that it gives a lot of people hope. I mean, I do like the idea that whenever, and luckily enough I haven't faced that on my life, but we will all at some point lose a beloved member of family or lose a very close friend. It's very comforting to have the belief that, okay, his body is gone, but I certainly one day will reconnect with this individual or this entity again. And there is something very comforting on that feeling. Whereas if you don't believe on energy or soul, whichever way you want to, the words you want to use, life can become very complicated if eventually you face a situation that somebody that you really care about is not around anymore. It might become very harsh on you to carry on with life, knowing that, okay, that person is gone, that's it, never ever ever again.
Exactly.
So, and obviously the fact that it gives hope to people, that people that's positive frequency, positive energy. When you put your hands together and you look up to the skies and say, God, please help me with this, help me with that, that's great, that's amazing. Totally. Or when you thank the universe, or you thank God, thank God for providing me with this opportunity on my life. That is really, really good. Just yesterday I went out for a run, and one of my local churches here in Camden had its doors open, and I have never seen those doors open before. That's because it's between 2 and 4 p.m. and I never passed that on that time, but eventually, like yesterday by chance, I passed in front of it, and I was running. I literally stopped running and I walked inside, and I stopped there for a minute.
Wow.
And it's a beautiful, beautiful old church from the 1800s. And I just stopped there, and that sense of peace, of calm, because when you go into a church during the day, there's not a lot of people there. It's very quiet. It's very peaceful. It's positive. It's great, But then again, people get fanatical about it, like everything else in life. So my God is better than yours. Okay, then you create a war. My God,
exactly.
And then
my imaginary friend is better than your imaginary friend. It's
exactly.
Like, why are you killing people over this?
Exactly, absolutely. It's all that. So it's basically, I think, and I hope that this is something that I truly hope that more and more now with access to information, because nowadays we have more information than kings had 250 years ago. We have so much information. I mean, you can learn and make up your mind about anything just by sitting your bum in a chair and using Google stuff. So
exactly.
With that, I do hope that people will learn more about everything, become more what's the word, like more in, I mean, more intelligent in a way, like, but knowing more, be a bit more complete in the sense of understanding general subjects in a wider way in order to, have better educated people. I think the educational system, it's really, really flawed. It should be different. We should be learning a hell lot of stuff that we don't. Like, we leave school, we don't know how to cook our food, we don't know exactly what's happening in our lives, we don't know anything about our minds, this voice that is there at all times. How is that not important for us to learn in order to become better citizens, better people for ourselves?
Exactly.
It's how is that not important? So it's all about. It's kind of cliche to say that education is fundamental, but it really isn't. By education, I'm not saying like, oh, having a piece of paper on your arm to say, oh, I've got this degree. No, you don't need that. What you actually need is people talking about, and people providing at on the very early stages of ourselves, good information, stuff that you will use in your life, that will make you comprehend things and make you just like, wow, okay, I am this thing and I am in this world, and wow, okay, let me try and organize my mind in order to make better choices for myself, for people next to me. But then again, we live in this crazy world where we simply don't have the time that we currently have, which is something that I really, really am very happy with, to just wonder, to just think, to just analyze your own thoughts, to perhaps rewire certain a train of certain thoughts that you might have that are not really doing any favors to you. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, we never stop.
100%.
We never stop. Life is just a crazy, crazy roller coaster that we keep on moving, and we rarely actually make the time to ourselves to simply be quiet, let the thoughts come and go, do not embrace them, they are not you, and just learn about ourselves.
Exactly. And I even think that's why, like, the podcast and stuff, what you're doing is why people are attaching to them so much, is because that in a podcast, it feels like you have two friends there talking, or however many people, and you can be a part of the conversation and just observe society without actually having to, put on these fake masks and this is what they should think I'm doing. And I think this is really, really interesting, especially about podcasts like yours and podcasts like the Joe Rogan podcast, where it's just people talking about, I mean, we've talked about music, religion, aliens, and it's but this is what we need, because people can then open their mind and go, okay, that's your opinion, that's your opinion, and get a great pool of information together. Is that so saying? It's like, what is it? Education is knowledge, experience. Sorry, education is informative, knowledge, experience is knowledge. Because I feel like you can get told to do something, but I mean, leaving school, I never get told how to pay my taxes. I never get told like any of that stuff. I told, like, the education system is so flawed, and especially kids that are musicians and kids that are artists that are told, well, actually, you don't need this. You should actually pursue, being a mechanic, or which then leads to people being miserable because they could have made it, but they've worked in a job they hate their whole life,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, my friend. Absolutely. Kieran, this has been great, man. I really enjoyed talking to you. Well, we did the podcast, but it was a good conversation, a good catch up, and I do feel that we could just carry on chatting, and I hope to, to see you soon, man, as soon as this world normalizes, and maybe I'll go in the next couple of months, do a day trip to Glasgow. I really want to go to the Highlands to go and do some whiskey tasting, and I'm sure you would be a good person to lead me there.
That'd be sick, man. Yeah, I miss you, bro. Definitely come down to Glasgow. I'll get Jack and the guys. We'll all go out drinking. That'd be great.
Amazing. Kieran, brother, great talking to you. Thanks for making the time. Any words, anything they would leave here, your website or Twitter account or Facebook, or any message that you would like to share with the listeners?
My Facebook is Kieran Robertson, at geofftate.com as well, is where you can catch all the tour dates. Thank you, Carl, so much for having me on, man. It's been a lot of fun. I really appreciate that.
I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation, this podcast, as much as I did doing it. So if that's the case, please do follow on Instagram at rollercoastercarl, myself at Carl Casagrande, on Twitter, same thing, Facebook, same thing. Do subscribe. Do subscribe on iTunes, subscribe on Spotify. That's very, very much appreciated. Thank you and have a great, great day. Cheers. Bye-bye.